What is going on, everyone? How about we take another look at small towns in the Lone Star State, Texas. I did a video on small towns in Texas for 2018, and I got a heap of flack for getting my pictures mixed up. I showed pictures of one town while I was talking about another. It was a fiasco. But because of the way YouTube set up, I really couldn't take it down without losing all the stats and the views, and that's a nightmare. So I just left it alone. I even got a boatload of emails and comments about towns that were way worse than the ones I had listed. I also had a ton of people calling me a Yankee for some reason. You know, nothing says backwoods like calling someone a Yankee. You gotta come up with something better. That's not really an insult. Nobody gets it anymore. Texas is a great state with amazingly loyal residents. Anyone from Texas will tell you it's the greatest state, and the United States is lucky to have her. I had a guy actually tell me that once. Those were his exact words. Texas does have some great cities: Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, and Houston, just to name a few. In past videos, I've given you reasons not to move to some of those cities. That doesn't mean they aren't great cities. I mean, any city's going to have 10 reasons not to move there. They also have 100 reasons to move there. It's just a matter of what do you prefer, what are you looking for in a city. Texas also has great towns and some really crappy ones. And that's what we're looking at in today's video, the crappy towns that subscribers suggested. So why don't you sit on back and watch my top 10 worst small towns in Texas, the subscriber version. Number 10, Dauphin. Dauphin is in Hidalgo County and is part of the McClellan metro area, and it sucks. Dauphin is home to about 5,500 residents in the upper panhandle of the state. Just kidding, it's down here by the Rio Grande. I promise you a bunch of Texans spit out their Shiner box just now and dropped an F-bomb, and then started pounding out an angry comment with those two index fingers only. Dauphin is not a place you want to live if you have children and care about their safety at all. The crime rate here is about 32% higher than the national average, and is among one of the most crime-infested towns in Texas for its size. The poverty level in Dauphin is 190% higher than the national average. Here's a weird one though. Their schools are okay. Normally when you have high crime and poverty rates like this, the schools suck too. Not in Dauphin, and I might even be pronouncing Dauphin wrong. I never heard of it until I did the research for this video. So sorry. Number 9, Corrigan, Texas. Corrigan has a population of about 1,700 residents, and it's about an hour and a half north of Houston. The only reason you would ever end up here is if someone told you to take Interstate 45 north to Dallas, and about an hour and a half into the trip, you realize you actually took Interstate 69, and then got off in Corrigan to correct your mistake. That is the only reason you would ever end up here. For a town this size, the crime rate is insane, and higher than average. The majority of the crimes committed here are property crimes. Nonetheless, it's dangerous for your stuff, maybe not for you. If your dream is to live the good life in a small Texas town, Corrigan is not for you. But if your dream is collecting cans to buy a single beer, welcome home. The poverty level in Corrigan is 62% higher than the national average. The good news about Corrigan is that it's really close to the Davy Crockett National Forest. And if there's any dillweeds out there, stop typing. Davy Crockett was a real person. I had some guy say he wasn't a real person in a past video. He said he was just a character Disney created. I had to enlighten this guy on how wrong he was, which was kind of fun, I gotta admit. Davy Crockett was a real person. He was actually a congressman from Tennessee and a frontiersman that died at the Alamo. Who Dillweed was thinking about was Daniel Boone. The thing is, Disney didn't create Daniel Boone out of thin air. He was in fact a person who was a legendary frontiersman. Side note, Daniel Boone's cousin was married to Abraham Lincoln. Not the president Abraham Lincoln, but the president's great-grandfather, who was also named Abraham Lincoln. And at one point, Daniel Boone served at the same fort as future President George Washington. Number 8, Scotland, Texas. Scotland is about 2.5 hours from Oklahoma City and about an hour and a half outside of Fort Worth. This means if you can't get what you need at the country store or the Wolf Pack and Sack, you'll need to make a hefty trip to where you need to go. Scotland is the type of place you move to if you really enjoy sitting on your back porch and cry. 4 out of 5 male residents in Scotland have at some point in their life been referred to as Bubba. The overall crime rate in Scotland is 41% higher than the national average. With only like 500 people in the town, that means there's like 490 law-abiding citizens and 10 jackholes in the whole place. They can't get a handle on the crime. The median income for a household in this town is $37,000 a year. Number 7, Troop, Texas. Troop is a small town of about 1,600 residents between Tyler and Jacksonville. Troop is not one of the most favorable places to live. Whether it's because of the crime rate, schools, or lack of entertainment, the housing prices really show how unfavorable this place really is. As of the most recent data, the median home price is about $83,000. This is up from $81,000 back in 2017. While the housing prices are up by $2,000, they're still significantly lower than the state's average of $151,000. That's usually a really good indicator that things suck in a town when you can get dirt cheap property. It's bad if your real estate agent shows up in overalls. That's the type of stuff I think you'd get in Troop. The good news is Troop does have a Sonic drive-in, so in case you're ever in need for a foot-long chili cheese dog and a blue slushie of some sort, it's there for you. I get the feeling that this is where a lot of dates go down in Troop. Buy your slushie, next thing you know, you're having an awkward makeout session in back by the dumpster. Good times in Troop. Number 6, Tye, Texas. Tye has a population of a little over 1,100 residents. Less than half of these residents are working. Tye has a lot of retirees and has an unemployment rate of about 4%, which is higher than the national average, leaving about 18% of the population to live in poverty. The median household income here is about $38,000 a year. Only move here if you are a big fan of jet fumes. Since it's in the direct path of incoming aircraft at the local Air Force Base, it's a great place to take in those fumes. It's just west of Abilene, and that's where you have to go for any sort of entertainment, either that or like the Flying J truck stop. I've been to Abilene twice, maybe 3 times. It sort of seemed like the city was making some progress, let's say in the 1950s, and all of a sudden someone said, "That's it, we're staying here. This is as far as we grow." Number 5, Deweyville, Texas. Deweyville is not the type of place you go to if you enjoy things like an income or food. This is the type of place where people actually save up for trips to the grocery store. This isn't really a town as much as a county area, but it does have over 1,000 residents, schools, and more churches than businesses, so it's on the list. The median household income is only $39,000 a year, which breaks down to about $19,000 a year if 2 people are, you know how to do math. This is significantly lower than the state average as well as the national average. Luckily, they have a river just outside of town so you can go catch yourself some dinner. It is also right on the border with Louisiana, so the residents can walk over there and they can feel better about their situation. Number 4, Driscoll, Texas. Driscoll is a very small town right outside of Corpus Christi with only about 700 residents. To the residents of Driscoll, this is home. To everyone else on the planet, this is just a place you stop to take a whiz before you get to Corpus Christi. For such a small town, they have such a high crime rate, it's kind of scary. Most of the crimes committed here are property crimes, but it's still dangerous. Be careful and aware whenever you go to a small town that's got a bad crime rate. Besides all that crime rate good news, the poverty level in Driscoll is 51% higher than the national average, and the income per capita in Driscoll is 60% lower than the national average. You know what? Just go on to Corpus Christi. Pee in a Gatorade bottle if you got to. Don't stop in Driscoll. Number 3, Wilson, Texas. Wilson is a tiny town about 30 minutes outside of Lubbock. Wilson is home to only about 500 residents, and if these residents need almost anything, they'll have to look outside of town for it. Within Wilson, you have one school that serves all students from kindergarten to seniors in high schools, a church, a tire service, and a post office. Anything else, you gotta do some traveling. There's not even a mini mart or a gas station here. If your baby has an earache at 11 p.m., the closest CVS is in Lubbock. They do also have an RV park that has no trees called Twin Pines RV Park. I don't get that one at all. Anyway, moving on. The overall crime rate in Wilson is 68% higher than the national average, and that's easy to do when you only got like 500 residents. Don't let that fact escape you, that when you only have 500 residents and you have an assault at a home or something like that, or 2 neighbors hit each other with shovels 3 days in a row, you got a crime spree. Anyway, 68% higher than the national average. The poverty level in Wilson is 119% higher than the national average. That's not good. End up living at the Twin Pines RV Park without an RV, living in your car. As I always say, paying rent to Geico. Number 2, Marlin, Texas. Marlin is a town right outside of Waco, Texas, with a pretty high crime rate. Just within the last month, the police chief committed some crimes and It ended badly. I won't get into it because I don't want to get demonetized, so Google it if you're interested. The poverty level in Marlin is 177% higher than the national average, and because of all the problems, you can get a mortgage on a 68-acre ranch with a pond for about $500,000, or the typical 300-bedroom place in town goes for about $130,000. The good news is if you're a lawyer, you should move here. You'll get tons of business, especially if you're like a criminal defense attorney. And number 1, El Cenizo, Texas. El Cenizo is home to about 3,000 residents south of Laredo on the Rio Grande River. El Cenizo has some of the worst education rates in the state. There's only one school for the town that serves all of the students. Unfortunately, that's still not enough to keep at least somewhat of a decent rating. The graduation rate here is an unbelievable 34%, while the national average is about 94%, and that's as of 2019. El Cenizo did make the news a while back because it adopted Spanish as the official language of the town. The poverty level in El Cenizo is 268% higher than the national average. The rest of their stats pretty much suck too, except for, as you can imagine, cost of living's pretty cheap here. Yeah, stay away from El Cenizo. Alright, so that's my top 10 worst small towns in Texas, the subscriber suggested one, Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget all the links below. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Leave me a comment. Tell me if you think I missed one. And don't leave me a comment if you think I mispronounced something, because I'm sure I did. Don't want to hear it. Anyway, everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.